So welcome to the behind the scenes of my film User. So first up we filmed the grandparents shoot. I had lots of feedback to give to all of the actors after every shot, just because these actors were the most inexperienced with acting or being in a film or something like this. However, the youngest boy Ryder, he has been in he's in a production this year and he is one of the main characters, so he actually surprised me and he did even better than I ever expected, so I was really proud of him. Now the dolly that we used made a bit too much noise because the wheels were a bit loose. We tried putting washers on them and greasing, but the noise still happened, so we ended up having to turn it upside down and put it on a rug for some of the other shoots, but for this one, because it was all on a carpeted floor, we used actually my grandma's walker. You can see in the shot there next to my dad on the right, and that was super smooth and quite easy to operate, so that was really good. The key light for this whole shoot was through the kitchen windows out of shot here on the right and to the left of the shot here out of shot. Then we also had fill and hair light with the practical lamps around the room. There were quite a lot of them. And including a laptop screen in the study behind us at the moment. And I also used lots of LED panels with yellow, orange, pink and white diffuser panels that helped add lots of depth and lighted up elements of the scenes that were ever in deep shadow.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, great job guys, thank you.
Well done.
Okay, so the tripod was in its standard form of the camera up here. Wouldn't get low enough for this shot, so we've turned the main arm upside down so the camera can get really low for this camera shot. So this is the setup. Now, as you would have seen at the very start of this behind the scenes video, in the time lapse, I always do a briefing or a breakdown of the characters and every scene and what the whole feel for the storyline was, so the actors knew what they were heading into and what their acting choices would kind of have to be. And yeah, so then I had to also hold this tripod here upside down many times, or fold the tripod into a monopod kind of thing. That helped for stabilization, but I also struggled a lot with it. I would definitely have to use some of the warp stabilizer in Premiere Pro to make the footage more stable. Here again is the briefing. We moved locations a bit of the way through this shot to get to film the very final scene of the film back at my house, or Henry and Ben's
Scene 31,
house.
shot 1, take 10.
I'm still at one time and just make it left, right? No, that's fine. Rolling.
Scene 31.
Yeah, so we did a drone shot here, and that was very successful. It took 6 or 7 takes, but overall it was quite good. I had to, because the drone doesn't record audio and it was too far away from the actors, I had to place the camera inside as the drone was going up to capture the audio of the family going in and chatting and talking properly about how their days were and how they enjoyed it and things like that. So I'll put that in over the top of the drone footage. Yeah, so I think that will add kind of a playful kind of feel, so that should be very nice. This drone shot was really cool. I really loved using operating the drone. The drone did have a tendency to tilt to the left lots of the time, but I was able to counter that. Okay, so here's the mother and daughter shoot. I as you can see up there to the right on the wall, I always put my call sheet up on the wall with blue tack just to keep my eye on the schedule and remember to have breaks and to refresh the actors and everything.
Scene 12, shot 1, take 3.
So that there was Liv calling out the scene, shot and take on my iPad. We downloaded the Digislate app and that worked really well for logging later. We also actually had to add a shot for this film. We brought Ryder back. Mum picked him up from his house to take a photo that we could put on the website of the whole family, just to make sure that the audience understood that all these characters, or these 6 characters, were all in the same family. These actors were actually really good. I had Annie M, one of my best friends Olivia, and my younger sister Mia. They really understood the characters, especially the daughters, but also Annie M. Although it was kind of like hard for her to act because she's never done something like this before, she really took on the character because it was admittedly quite close to her and like eccentric kind of bubbly personality. So that was really great seeing her jump into it like that. They all took on the feedback that I gave them a lot, which was really awesome as well. I dressed up my younger sister Mia to look as young as possible just because although there was only a 2-year age gap between Olivia and Mia, I wanted that to be look a bit larger. Just to make the audience like relate more and feel more sympathetic towards Mia's character, because Annie M's just like not wanting to spend time with her and not prioritizing her relationship with her daughter. The lighting was actually quite like hard here in this storyline because it was quite harsh. It was during the morning I filmed this storyline, so it was just like a whole like wall of like white bright light coming through the windows on the left of all the shots. But that was okay. So that was definitely the key light there, the window or the windows there. I did use some hair light. I've got LED panels. I had them up on the wall. I also had some reflecting up onto the roof. And I also had a very bright desk light on my mum's desk to the right, which is kind of a fill light there. Yeah, so I filmed with a lighter exposure than I wanted for most of my storylines, knowing that it's better to film to increase the amount of information captured by the camera as much as possible. So then I can always take that down in post-production, but I didn't want to miss anything, miss any information that I would need that I couldn't just put in later, whereas I can always pull down the exposure in Premiere Pro. Yes, so like I mentioned before, I had to put the dolly upside down because it made noise when it was the right way up, unfortunately. We tried to fix it, but we couldn't. So we put it on my upside down bedroom rug, and that worked quite well. I needed to make sure I held onto the tripod and hold onto the dolly, not the tripod, because the tripod would like tilt back and forth and make the camera quite unstable. So I needed to keep my eye on that. And with my dad as a dolly operator for lots of that shoot, that was really helpful so I could focus on the camera, what it was focusing on. I had an automatic focus, so I had to click on the screen what I needed to focus on lots of the time and like tilting. So that worked quite well actually. Okay, now for the front shoot. So as you can see here, I tried walking to get the shot, but that was actually quite shaky. So then we got into the car. Dad drove while I captured Layla walking, and that was a lot smoother. You can see there. And you'll see in the final video, so I was really happy with that. This shoot was actually quite complicated because it took a lot longer than I expected because the change of locations from the park, which was raining that day, so it would have been muddy and uncomfortable for the actors, and the microphone would have got wet and captured the sound of the rain, which wouldn't have been good either. So here's another briefing before our shoot. There was the dolly I was using for most of my shoots. That she isn't really properly connected with. And if you guys have any feedback or suggestions on how to flow better as we go, let me know. Considerations? So in this scene, the key light was, again, the windows. I had LED panels bouncing off the ceiling, and Mia's LED desk light there also shining onto the girls, which was very useful for some hair light for Layla. Now, because of the change of location, I did have to improvise many of the shots for this shoot. Now that made it longer, and it was also just a bit more complicated because I had storyboarded everything for the park and where all the girls would be sitting and moving around, but that was a bit more unnatural to have the girls moving around when they were just sitting on a bed. It'd be weird for Kaylin just to come around and talk to Layla and she could just yell across the room, but she wouldn't want to do that because they were having like kind of a personal conversation. So just different things like that were just a bit more complicated to organize. So it actually meant like resorting the dialogue, giving Mia and Elise a few more lines because Kaylin was sitting on the other side of the bed, so it was hard for her to be a bit more directly involved with just talking to Layla. But that was okay. I still think it worked fine. I also needed to add just a bit more coverage of like close-ups of the girls talking, and just making sure I got as much coverage as possible for editing, because the editing for this shoot will take a bit longer just because it's not exactly what I storyboarded. But that's okay, I'm still quite happy with this shoot, but it was a bit overwhelming on the day to sort it all out. The girls, the 4 actors were quite natural in striking up conversation. There was a natural chemistry between all of the cast members and easy for them to chat. There was quite a few times I needed them just to make natural background conversation kind of thing, and they're talking about just like a bunch of random things. I got a few different moments of intermediacy and hypermediacy, which were really great. They were talking about Olivia Rodrigo's Sour Prom video that was posted onto YouTube, and about the obvious photoshops of some of the Kardashian girls as well. I didn't want to make it too explicit, so I made them to just keep it in their girly kind of chatter, not talk about oh my gosh, the serious impacts of social media or anything like that. So I also added a nice shot of the 3 girls, Kaylin, Mia and Elise, sitting on the bed making the bracelets, just kind of in silence after Layla's left, kind of being like, what's going on, what did we do to make Layla leave? And that was quite a somber juxtaposition that I'll use in my mini montage at the end of the film, so I'm really happy with how that went. Now, for some reason I did not anticipate it to be this cold on the shoot day. I had Elise in a nice crop top and a maxi skirt, and then Chris in jogger jeans and a hoodie, which was good for him, but poor Elise was quite cold, so we had a bar heater that we could plug in and put under the deck table and next to the deck chairs as they acted, so that got them nice and toasty, which was great. Here's another briefing just before we started the shoot. For this shoot, the acting was quite good. It was naturally, both of them, quite subtle and subdued, so I kind of just had to encourage them to heighten their emotions. Either it's more excitement or more sadness, just so it completely comes across on camera and is understandable for the audience. We actually had some beautiful natural lighting as well from the cloud-covered skies. That was obviously the key light source. And we didn't actually need any other lighting or anything like that. Like shown in the shot, we did use the diffuser a few times just to make sure the screens, the phone screen and the laptop screen was completely visible. We had to swap to the 50mm lens to get the shots of the screens as well too. That worked a lot better, letting more light into the lens. So the hardest task of acting in the storyline was actually the romantic exchanges between Elise and Chris. Chris easily settled into it. He was great, but it was a bit more struggle for Elise, which is totally fair enough. So we just had to spend a lot more time on those shots here that we're setting up for, and I had to explain a lot of exactly what she'd be feeling towards Chris in every moment. So that was fun. And also, due to the deck panels you can see at the bottom there, the wooden panels, I could only dolly in one direction. I couldn't go over the panels. That would make a very noticeable shutter in the camera. So I just had to go in the direction straight towards them, parallel to the wood panels. But that actually worked finally in the end. As long as I just moved nice and slowly, I could use the dolly and it wouldn't make too much sound. My dad encouraged me here a bit later to experiment with a few different techniques of stabilizing the camera and moving forward kind of thing that I could do with a dolly, but I couldn't because of the slats of wood. So I tried bending my knees and leaning forward, and I tried